Hey, this is Notser, and I want to talk about something else that came up. I know the other video was on stealth firing going away in 0.6.3, and with just a quick tease of that, but there's another announced change that is kind of important. Wargaming are going to be buffing the Alabama before she hits the premium shop. Now, that's a big deal, obviously. I felt like the Alabama was completely 100% viable to play, and you are sacrificing citadel protection to gain torpedo protection and maneuverability. I didn't feel like they needed to buffer, but since they're doing it, let's talk about it. So the citadel is one of the weaknesses of the Iowa, the Montana, and now the Alabama. The North Carolina is slightly old, and its citadel is an older design. I know this is weird, but just picture this. World of Warships and Wargaming sort of punishes newer, more complete citadel designs. The older, like World War I into World War I designs actually work better with the game's design. The idea of a citadel is it's going to protect the absolutely most vulnerable parts of the ship, and it's sort of an all or nothing layout, where anything outside of that citadel is okay to lose, and you'll still survive. The ship will still float. So the citadel increases in size, and you put more things in it, basically. That's not what the Germans did. The Germans were a very old World War I, but they end up being the better armor based on the loadout. So the Iowa, the proposed Montana, which was a paper ship, it was almost about to be made, but then they were like, just make aircraft carriers, they're more important. The Alabama has that sort of citadel, and it's a disadvantage in World of Warships. They're going to be buffing the gameplay element of the citadel, and now they're going to be turning it to a ship that, well, it has way better torpedo protection, way better maneuverability, slightly worse accuracy. We're talking 1.9 versus 2.0 Sigma. Everything else is exactly the same. Same arc, same everything. It's have basically the exact same AA protection. 100% rating, it's ridiculously high. Americans will not have any issues with aircraft equal tier. But you are now gaining better citadel protection. Is that going to protect you 100% from broadside? Absolutely not. That's what the Germans are for. But it's going to be better. I think it's overkill. I think it's going to be too strong. I think it's going to be replacing the North Carolina rather than enhancing it. You're going to be giving up very small amount of accuracy. Very small amount. You probably wouldn't notice the accuracy difference unless you fired 200, 300, 400 shots in a row. It's going to be very close. But you're gaining 30 or 40% torpedo protection, better maneuverability, a smaller frame, so it should be harder to completely devastate with torpedoes. And we're moving into an era where, you know what, it's going to be really painful to fire your gun as a destroyer. I could see a potential where they buff the torpedoes in some manner down the line to compensate for the destroyers. Because obviously the Soviets are not going to benefit that much from a torpedo buff, but the Japanese, the Americans, even the Germans will benefit. And those are the three that are going to need a buff after the stealth fire changes. The Alabama could operate in a world where the destroyer is going to be much more scary with torpedoes than what they are now. Right now it's a gun-focused world, but everything can sway. So it's a nice buff for people who want to buy it and who are going to buy it. Obviously, you're getting a better premium. What's not to like about that? If you don't have the Missouri, absolutely pick it up. 100% it's a buy, in my opinion, now that they're buffing the citadel protection. But is it going to be better than the Missouri? No. I think the Missouri is a better buy. It's a tier 9 premium, and it's the Missouri. What's not to like about it? It has far more history. Obviously, Alabama is famous, but the Missouri is more famous, and a tier higher is a big deal. So what do you think? Do you think the Alabama being buffed was completely necessary? You know, it's funny to me. They do stuff like this, where they will improve a premium, right, before it's released. But they'll leave stuff almost broken in the form of the German destroyers. They really don't have an identity, right? They're really mediocre. The American carriers are really, really bad compared to the Japanese. But they'll go back, you know, they read, a couple people complain, and they'll make a big change on something that probably doesn't need the change. And I just don't understand. I mean, obviously, they feel like people will spend their money, or more likely to spend their money, if they're going to get a ship that is at least as strong, if not stronger, than mainline ships. So, I hate to say it, but I feel like Wargaming is more inclined to offer up a premium that is better than a mainline ship, rather than fix core issues, like the American aircraft carrier or the German destroyers, just to name it a few. It took forever for the American cruisers to get a change. Even the Japanese change is really subpar now. They're increasing the gun range because the stealth fire is irrelevant now. In 0.6.3, we'll explore those. Definitely going to be playing that. But it's... I just don't like the idea that a change would be made out of frustration. Because I don't feel like the frustration is as informed as it needs to be. You know, like the radio location. I felt like in my bones that radio location was just not good. But we had a certain percentage of the community that felt like it was the most broken thing in the game. And what did we get? A very mediocre skill that really you shouldn't take. You only should take it if you're having trouble discerning what the enemy is doing. Now, the Alabama, it will be the highest easily obtainable premium. The Missouri is obtainable, but not easily. This is going to sell like hotcakes. I expect it to sell like hotcakes, and it's good. It's good for the game. It's good for people who love the Alabama. I'm more frustrated because it feels like it's getting buffed because people complained. And I don't like that aspect of it. You know? I would prefer that it gets buffs because, oh, it's just straight up worse. Well, why did you give us a worse version, right? Then you get into the case, well, if people aren't performing very well in it and you felt like this was an issue, why did you even give us that version? But it doesn't really matter now. So yeah, Citadel is going to be buffed. It's going to be lowered, probably, to match the Missouri and the Iowa changes. Now, is it going to be as flat as the North Carolina? We have no idea. But I think this ship is good. It is very impressive to play. I enjoy it. It's more maneuverable. It's got good lines, you know. I will be extremely happy to basically get a premium North Carolina. What's not to like about that? The North Carolina is a great Tier 8 battleship. It's going to have great credit income. It's not my problem if it's more competitive than the North Carolina. That's Wargaming's problem, because that is suggesting that premiums are a necessary balance or a necessary purchase in order to be competitive, and I don't obviously want that. I don't want a world where the only reason you would play a premium is because of the credit income, and it's completely irrelevant, sort of like World of Tanks. But they're fixing those issues in World of Tanks. I just think they should make sure that they don't give everything to a premium. Just make it better. I don't want it better than mainline. I want it to be a side grade. I want it to be slightly different in some manner. So that's what I want. I hope you want that too, because if we live in a world where premiums are straight up better, you're going to have to spend money to compete, and I don't really want that. I hope this was interesting. I hope you all have a fantastic day, and I'll catch you next time.